Right, I've been messing about with this bike trying to get it to run right, and I think I finally sorted it. So, what I've done is I suddenly realised that, of course, I have my bike, and that has a set of carburetors on it. So, of course, I thought, well, check, take the carbs off my bike and put them on this bike. Then we know if it's the carbs or not. So I did that, and it didn't like it at all. It was exactly the same. So I'm thinking, right, it's not the carbs. But then I'm thinking, well, it is the carbs because of the way it was running. It was, it was all over the shop, and so then I'm thinking, right, well, both carbs aren't right. Neither set is right. Now, here's the thing. I was in the middle anyway of rejetting my carburetors because I've not been happy with the low speed running. So what I did was I'd already bought some smaller throttle slides. These are actually number 3 throttle slide. Okay, but I hadn't fitted them to my carbs. So then I took my carbs back off the bike and took the 3.5 slides that I had in there out and replaced them with the new number 3 slides. Now the original slides in these are 4s, and then I'd replace them with 3.5. These are the cutaways, the throttle slide cutaway, and so, but it still wasn't running right at low revs. And because I'm running with open bell mouths, I thought, well, I'd try 3s. So I put the 3s in, and that's it. And it runs. The bike now runs like a dream. So what I'm doing is I've got new number 3 throttle slides ordered for the carbs, the original carbs that were on the bike, and I'll put the number 3 slides in there. This is already down to 3.5s. I'm sure the original cutaway is 4 on the throttle slides. These are, but I know that's got 3.5s in. But I've got the 3s in mind now, and it's great. So I'm going to put the 3s in there, got them on order, and then when that's sorted, then hopefully we'll have the bike will be sorted as well. Anyway, so I'll just start it up now. Just show you how it's running now. I mean, it sounds the same as it did before, but without the choke on. Because as soon as you took the choke, it wouldn't even run without the choke on. It was that bad, it was spluttered and coughed. And this is the thing that I found interesting, was it affected, it was like the whole engine was completely wrong. It wasn't just like, oh, that sounds a bit lean, and that, I can't describe it. The throttle wouldn't close. It suddenly revved high, and then it revved low, and then it wouldn't go on tico. It affected the whole running, and it wasn't just like, oh, that it's not running too well at like 2,000 revs or whatever. It just would not run at all. And I think that's interesting. And also when you close the throttle, like the revs would stay high and then suddenly drop. And I thought, but then I'd check the throttle slides and they were fully closed. They closed completely, but the engine continued to rev and then suddenly it dropped. I mean, I can't describe how it completely affected the whole running of the engine. So that's important to note. I thought the whole, the way the engine was running or not running, I thought there's something majorly wrong somewhere. But anyway, that seems to have cured it. Anyway, I'm going to start the bike now, and the choke is now off. I've just run it. It's warm, and so you can see what it's running like without the choke on now. Okay, yeah, we're all done. Bike's warm. Let's give it a go. Choke's off. Ignition on. That would always help. Right, I don't want to run it too long because I want the engine to cool down so I can take the carbs back off and get them back on my bike. So anyway, yeah. So there we are. That's running great with the choke off. It wouldn't run at all before with the choke off. So I'm hoping that when I put the number 3 slides in the old carbs, put them back on, they will run equally as well, and we're sorted. Touch wood. Obviously, again, I've got to take it for a ride. Got to check the plugs, check they're not running too rich or whatever. But fingers crossed, I'm optimistic that's sorted the problem. We'll find out in due course. Okay, so I've just ordered and received the new throttle valves. So these are the old ones. They're 3.5. Yeah, that's the size of the cutaway, and these are 3s. So the size of the cutaway is smaller than the 3.5. So I'll be putting those in the carburetors, and hopefully that'll sort problems out. Because I temporarily put the carbs from my bike. Well, here's the bike we're working on, waiting for the carbs to go back in. And I temporarily took the carbs off my bike and put them on that bike we're working on, and it ran equally badly. But I was in the process of changing the. I wanted to change the throttle slides in my carbs anyway, because I got a slight misfire at low, at sort of 2,500 revs. So I put the new throttle slides in that, which were 3s, and the bike, put them back on here, and the bike ran perfectly. So, and I put them back on my bike, and that runs really well now. So I'm hoping that putting the throttle slides back in these carbs, when I put them back on, we should be fine. Just the only one thing to note is that these carburetors are not what they call Premier carbs; they're standard carbs. Whereas on my bike, they are Premier carbs. So they're just like a sort of deluxe version of the AML. And one difference is that they have these hard anodized throttle slides. These are just standard, some sort of alloy. So they're softer, and they do tend to wear a bit. Whereas the Premier carbs, as are on my bike, they're hard anodized, so they don't wear. But I just bought the standard ones. I could have actually put anodized ones in, but they're quite a bit more expensive. And these are standard carbs, so I thought I'd put standard throttle slides back in. Anyway, so I'm just going to swap those slides over, get the carbs back on the bike, and start up and touch wood. We'll be okay. Oh, another thing to notice, I think that maybe these carbs are actually for a T150, because the carbs for a T150, they run richer, they're set at a richer level than for the T160. I'm not entirely sure, but when I took the slides out, they're 3.5. Now, as far as I know, the standard ones on a T160 are 4s. So, whereas I think they're 3.5 on a T150, and also the throttle needles are different. If I can get this to focus, yeah, there's 2 rings at the top, these 2 grooves at the very top of the needle. I think that shows it's a T150. Yeah, where am I? So I'm also going to move the throttle clips down to the bottom groove, so to raise the needles to make them richer, because that worked with mine. So I'm going to try. I'll raise the throttle and I'll put the new slides in, and then if it runs okay, if it runs well and tunes okay, should be okay. And then the only real way after that of working out whether it's actually precisely tuned is to put it on a sort of rolling road, which is what I did for mine. And that's when it was confirmed that it was running very lean at sort of low revs. Right. Okay. Yeah. So I'll get on and do that now. Okay. So I've put my carburetors I put my carburetors on this and it seemed to run fine. My carburetors have got three size 3 throttle valves, so I put size 3 throttle valves in this as well, put it on, I put the carbs back on, and it still runs like a dog. So I'm going to start it up here quickly, briefly, because I don't want it too hot, so I'm going to take it all apart again. As before, it runs really well on choke, and I'm going to start it on full choke. I'll give it a little bit of time to warm up, but not too much because I don't want it too hot. Tickle the carbs, full choke, ignition on. But when it's a bit warm, I'll try taking the choke off. I'll get the key in the right way around. There we go, ignition on, full choke. We'll start it up. And then when it's a bit warm, I'll try taking the choke off and show you how it's running with the choke off.
Right, yeah. Take the choke off.
It won't even run. It won't even run. Put the choke back on full.
Choke off.
Just dead. And that's what it's been doing really since since I put the bike together. So I'm 99% sure there's something wrong with these carbs. But what I'm going to do, let's come down here. What I'm going to do, which is a pain in the backside, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to take the carbs back off this bike. I'm going to take the carbs back off my bike. I'm just going to start my bike up now and show you how it's running. There's a bike going past, let's have a look. I'm going to put the carbs from my bike on this bike, see if it runs okay again. I've done that before and it seemed to run fine. And then I'm going to put the carbs from this bike on my bike, which is a complete faff, and see if that runs okay or not with these carbs. If it doesn't, then that's a definite proof that it's the carbs that are the problem. It's a pain. I've got to take out all the carbs off this. I've got to take all the carbs off mine and put my carbs on this, put these carbs on my bike. But it's the only way I can think of the way forwards for establishing that that it is the carbs, because I can't find anything wrong with the carbs. As far as I can see, there's no blockage anywhere. But it doesn't. These carbs don't seem to respond much, if at all, with the air screw. So as far as I can see, there isn't a blockage. You can put stuff through and it comes out of all the right holes. But obviously there's something wrong, and the fact that the air screws don't seem to be making much difference would suggest there's a problem there. But anyway, I've got to take the carbs off anyway, so I better get started with that. But before I do that, I'm just going to start my bike up and show you how that runs with my carbs on. Right, here's my bike, petrol on, tickle, tickle, tickle. Yes, before anyone says anything, to tickle the carbs properly, you should just press and hold down. But I don't do that because A, it's human nature not to. That's the main reason. You just feel like you need to press it up and down. But B, I do tend to find if I press and hold, then you're caught out and suddenly there's petrol everywhere, and you need to take your thumb off pretty fast. Whereas if you do just tickle it, as in prod it up and down a bit, you can stop the petrol from getting everywhere. Right, here we are, my bike. Choke on, just to start. Ignition on. Runs perfectly. So we've established that my bike is running perfectly and that bike is running like a dog. I'm going to take the carbs off here, put them on that bike, take the carbs off that bike, put them on this bike, see what happens. It's a pain of a job, but can't think of it, and I need to be 100% sure before I start messing about with the carbs again that it is the carbs. So I've already swapped them over once, but I'm going to swap them over again. And what I didn't do before was put those carbs on my bike. So I should have done if I'd thought about it. And it was actually my wife suggested it because I've been shunting away for like days because obviously this is getting to me a bit now. And she said, I said, I'm going to put my carbs back on that bike. And she said, well, why don't you put the carbs off that bike on your bike? I said, yeah, I'm going to think of that. So anyway, that's what we do. Probably the next video we'll see what happens as a result of that.